Well, hello there. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who are receiving this right now, we've talked about it. But for the rest of you, I want to welcome you, right? I want to welcome you to this workshop, this amazing lesson called Locus of Control, Grace, Choice, and Living Free. I'm going to start with the big boat jump. I know, huh? Boat jump. Well, there's a purpose for that. Okay. Because there is a moment in my life that still makes my heart pound when I think about it, in a lot of different ways. And so let me give you the backstory. Okay. Family and I, we're on the boat, just hanging out, cruising like family. Everything's calm and simple and beautiful. And then, and then in what felt like a flash, an instant, it all shifted. And that calm ride turned into, well, let's call it hot dogging it around, right? Like it was full of sharp turns and what I consider to be super high speed. Everybody else is totally digging it. They're laughing, they're having a blast, smiling, all but me, right? My anxiety kicked in full force. I tried to complain. Did I ever try to complain? I tried to reason, tried to get them to stop. But, back in those days, my communication skills weren't that great. And, there were other things, contributing to my, you know, delivery that made it lacking. But anyway, long story short, it backfired. And nobody heard me the way that I really needed to be heard. And so that anxiety, right, turned into complete panic and frustration over the fact that I had zero control, right? So what I do, I jumped. I jumped out of that moving boat and I swam all the way to shore, right? So, right, that moment, it taught me a lot, right? It taught me something that would shape everything that I do now. Because control isn't about managing every outcome. It's about deciding what you do when life spins out in front of you. And that right there is what your locus of control is all about. So I want you to push pause if you don't have a pen and a paper handy, or you haven't, I don't know, downloaded the worksheet that I've made available here. Push pause. Otherwise, let's take a moment and do a little reflection. I want you to write down the last time you felt like you yourself have zero control. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was in an interaction with somebody. Maybe it was with a situation at work. Maybe it was just with your own emotions. Okay. So I want you to write that down, but then also answer a couple questions, right? What did you do in that moment? Did you freeze? Did you try harder to control? Maybe you jumped. Did you jump? Now I want you to circle one thing you could have chosen differently, even if it was small. Now you might be saying, circle what, right? Like you got one thing that you could have chosen differently, even if it was small, right? Think about that. You wrote down a lot just now. Circle the one thing you could have chosen differently. Okay, if you need more time, push pause because it's time for us to talk about what the hell is the locus of control anyway. I know some of you are like, okay, I already know, but I want you to listen anyway because this is the psychology boiled down. And then we're going to get into some big meat and potatoes, okay? Locus of control is where you believe the power in your life sits. Is that inside of you or is it out here somewhere? If it's internal, you believe I get to choose. I act. I respond. My effort and my perspectives shape my outcomes. Now, if it's external and maybe you bounce back and forth, it's okay if you do, right? But if you are leaning into the external, you believe that life is happening to you. Life happens to me, other people, other circumstances, fate, luck. They're all in the driver's seat. And again, it's okay if you bounce back and forth because it's critically important that you can identify, oh crap, I'm being sucked into my external locus of control. Or wow, this is a really great time to get internal. Or ooh, I did that great, right? Like I led myself, right? So most of us are living like the damn steering wheel isn't even in our car, right? Like it's we've handed it out. We've given it to our boss. A lot of us, we've given it to our partner, to our kids. In today's temperature, today's climate, right? A lot of us are handing our steering wheel over to what's going on in the economy, in the social storm that's happening. I've known many and worked with many that give the steering wheel over to social media, Instagram comments, thumbs up and likes. Something our parents said 20 years ago, right? Like they're still carrying around that bag of things other people said 10, 20, 30 years ago. And then we wonder. And we wonder why we feel powerless. We're baffled as to why we're resentful and why, oh, we're just stuck like we're standing in a pit of quicksand. So here's what I want you to internalize, to hear, to believe, to trust, to use a fluffy phrase that everybody's using today, right? Like, here's the truth, right? The steering wheel never left your car. You just stopped holding on to it. So we got to move into awareness. Write down one area in your life right now where you're clearly living with an internal locus of control, where you own your wheel. Then I want you to write one area where you've been external, where you've been blaming, waiting, feeling powerless, ruminating, wallowing, languishing. And I want you to notice, the difference in how those two experiences feel inside your body. Which one feels lighter? Which one drains you? When I say listen and hear what your body is trying to tell you, Think about this. I want you to think about how much people talk about, we're all out there on social media. We hear everybody talking about, right? Like the mind body experience, improve your mindset, all of those things, all wonderful. But one of the things we have to realize is that most signals, 9 out of 10 signals, come from our body to our brain, right? Like our body is telling our brain what needs to happen. Our body is telling our brain what we need. Our body is telling our brain what we are feeling or experiencing. There's only 1 out of 10 that goes from the brain to the body. If you want to understand more about that, we can have a totally different conversation. So look, we got to have grace. Got to have grace. So we're going to take a minute here and we're going to dig in. I'm going to be extremely open, honest, genuine, transparent, authentic, right? Like we're going to get real. Taking back our wheel doesn't mean that we swerve into everyone else's lane. Okay. Doesn't mean, oh, I get to cut this person off because I'm in my, it's what I want for me in my life. Doesn't mean that you hold up traffic and not let anybody else behind you go by. It doesn't mean, right, that you get to disrupt others, right? Because we've all tried that. We've tried to control someone else's choices. We've tried to control other people's thoughts and beliefs and behaviors and all the things. I hear it all the time. So you can't say you don't. If he would only. I've heard, if my husband would only be more active, if my husband would only whatever. Anyway, so I hear it all the time. If he would only, if she would only, right? We've tried to control it. Maybe we called it helping. Maybe we called it love. Maybe we feel like it's our obligation. But what it really is our own internal need for control. And I have to bring in, Mel Robbins, right? Like she's a rock star. I love it. She's given big social space, big social awareness to this entire topic. And she says it, really great in Let Them, her new book, right? Like let them think what they think. Let them do what they do. Let them choose what they choose. Their wheel isn't yours to grab. This is where grace comes in, because grace is power. Grace means, hey, I accept that you get to live your life and I get to live mine. Grace means I don't need to control you to validate me. Grace means I release you, I release me. So I want to ask you this. Where in your life, and it could be in multiple areas, it could be in a subcategory of one of your categories, right? Like we have home, we have our intimate relationship, maybe we have our familial relationships, we have work, we have colleagues, whatever it is, right? Like what your categories are. And so it could be at work with your subordinates, those under you, right? That you're gripping their wheel. It could be your adolescent daughter who every time she comes to you with something, you don't, you tell her what the solution is, or it's, nope, you're not going to do that. Anyway, so you're gripping her wheel or someone else's wheel, right? So where in your life are you doing that? Who's coming to your mind right now? Here's the big question. What does holding on cost you? What is holding on costing you? Here's the thing, guys. When you grip someone else's wheel, you're just exhausting yourself. That's when the numbing sneaks in. That's when we grab the bottle of wine at night. That's when the bucket of Ben and Jerry's sounds very soothing. That's when the 2 a.m. Amazon cart gets filled. Yeah? Or doing everything for everyone else until you're empty. That's a thing too. I'm just going to numb out. I'm just going to focus over here on all of everybody else's things and needs. So I don't have to look at mine. I see this all the time in my industry. I see it in up and comers. I see it in people that are in school, that are studying. I see it in people who haven't even got that far yet. But they get to this space of healing and recovery, and they stop suddenly on their own and start diverting because it starts getting into that too deep, right? Like everybody wants this surface level shallow. There's just what everybody else sees, and they don't want to really, right? That's why people don't just raise their hand and say, oh my gosh, right? Like, I'm going to go take a recovery journey. They're not just out there saying it, right? Anyway, so this is how we numb out doing things for others. So people pleasing, codependency, perfectionism, right? It's the same as that big old bottle of wine at night with a bucket of Ben and Jerry's. Right? Those things, none of them save you. None of them save you from anything. In fact, they sink you. It's just like jumping out of that moving boat. Not to swim to shore, but to drown under the weight of someone else's chaos. They bring all kinds of things. They bring poor sleep, bad dreams, mental reels and loops. I don't know if you've ever laid there in bed with the thoughts, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to do this. I can't believe they said this, and da 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 da. And you get to a point when you're in these loops, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm laying here in bed talking to myself. And now I can't believe I'm talking to myself about the fact that I'm talking to myself about the fact that I'm laying here spinning out in a wheel, right? Doing all the replays. Oh, and the rehearsals. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the cognitive rehearsals that hit our brain the second we lay down, right? Because we're so in our external, we're so numbing out by the things outside of us to avoid what we need on the inside. Sorry, I got on a little bit of a rant there. All we're doing here is numbing our awareness. So I want you to write down your top 2 numbing behaviors. And you better be honest. If you're not, well, it's not going to hurt me. It's going to hurt you. Right? So write down your top 2 numbing behaviors. Now, next to each one, it's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie, right? Like, this is going to be hard. Next to each one, I want you to write Write out what you're really trying to get from it. Is it relief, rest, love, escape, right? Because we're out here, we're relying on things outside of us to bring us peace, joy, comfort, relief, value, validity, worthiness. Write it down, be honest. Now, let's reframe that. You ready to reframe it? Circle one and write this. How else could I give myself this in a way that actually brings me closer to shore, not further away? So you don't have to write that way. What I want you to do, circle that and write out how else you could be giving yourself whatever that is, that relief, in a way that actually brings you closer to shore, your shore, not further away. Okay. I wanted to clarify that. Because for me, it's always thinking about, it was a dangerous thing, right? To jump out of that boat in the middle of a lake and swim to shore. Sure, that maybe your visualization of it is, oh, okay, the shore right there. It wasn't that, right? Like it was, and there were other boats and wave runners and things around. It was not a safe thing to do. So spend a minute, push pause, right? Push pause right here and work on that reframe. How else can I give myself this peace? How else could I give myself joy? How else could I give myself relief? How else could I give myself comfort? Whatever. How else can I do that brings me closer to me, right? My home, my shore, not continuously further away. Now, I like to call this part my badass factor, because this is where we get to choose. And yes, love the book. You are a badass, right? Jen Sincero. Um, and so I want to bring this to you because it's the part that most people resist. Here it is. I'm going to give it to you. You get to choose. Always. You always get to choose. And not choosing, all of you out there that are like, oh, I don't like to make decisions. I don't like to choose. Da, da, da. That's still a choice. Staying silent, tolerating, numbing, waiting for permission. Those are all choices. You're just outsourcing the power while you do it. So if you want to live differently, you have to choose differently. Period. That's it. There's nothing else to say, right? If you want to live differently, you have to choose differently. You don't get a new life by recycling the same decisions. You don't get a breakthrough by blaming your boss. You don't get a breakthrough by blaming your partner. And you certainly don't get a breakthrough by blaming your past. holding it on, dragging it around with you like it's, I don't know. I don't know what you think what's gonna manifest or happen or transform or transcend if you're still carrying around an event from 30 years ago. Right? Put it down. You get it by choosing. That's how change, growth, transformation, transcendence, self-actualization happens. It's by choosing again and again and again until the way you live reflects the way you desire. And what you desire, that changes and shifts and grows and morphs. And so you got to continuously be choosing and choosing and choosing and choosing along with that. So clearly I've already highlighted for you, right? That you already can choose. You know how. You're doing it all day long, every day. So you're already real good at choosing. So now you have your evidence that every time you've chosen something, every time you've survived something hard, every time you've gotten back up, you chose to do that. We forget to look at that. We look at the fact that we fell down. We don't look at the fact that we stood up. We don't celebrate the fact that we're still living, breathing, seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, experiencing. You don't tell yourself you can't. You've already done it. So we're gonna let's work on giving ourselves a permission slip. What do you think? Yeah. Now, here's what we want to do. We want to document for ourselves, right? Like a permission slip is written out. So we want to write out one area of your life where you've been waiting for permission. Where have you been waiting for that permission to come in? Yeah, I'm pausing because I'm waiting for you to do that. Write it down. Now, in big letters, I want you to write this. I give myself permission. Say it out loud and feel it in your chest. I give myself permission. When you give yourself permission, you need to feel it. I have to give myself permission to even show up here and dump all of my lived experiences here for you, right? Like I had to give myself permission. I feel all of this in my chest. Like, yes, I have gifts to give. I had to give myself permission to believe that. Anyway, not about me, right? I want to encourage you to start talking out loud. I don't know when recovery from anything, right? Whether it's anxiety, depressive states. Yeah, well, actually, I should rephrase that because I know because when I was growing up, we swept everything under the rug, right? Like you never talked about it. Mommy's little helper pill, everything happened behind closed doors. When you left the house, you were, put together, smile on your face, all the things, right? Like we didn't talk about our emotional needs back in those days. But I'm 55 years old right now today, as we sit here recording that, like that was a long time ago. And things have changed a lot. And I know that I didn't raise my kids to hold things in. I didn't raise my kids to feel ashamed if they were struggling emotionally. And we talk about things. And I'm pretty sure that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Now, what I want to encourage you to do is don't hide your emotional growth needs from other people. That's just you holding things in, shoving them down, and burying them alongside the other stuff you're trying to clean up. It's getting full in there. Let me tell you, when I decided to put down alcohol and give up benzodiazepines, I wasn't in, I've had different types of addiction in my life, and I've had different types of recovery needs. But I did it different the last time. Again, I was in a very, very mature, high functioning space when I did it. But I walked straight in, right? Like, as I used to go to the local stores that I used to hit, right? And I planned when I was going, and I over those times, right? Like, I walked in, last 18 pack, right? Like, this is the last one. I'm done, right? Like, I'm not buying anymore, yada yada. And I just let everybody know, right? Like, I told the pharmacist, like, we're not filling this one again, right? Like, no more benzos, no more Xanax. And I've just been really out loud about this journey over the last 12 plus years. And and my goodness, is it wonderful? It's amazing how my openness about it attracts people in my community, because I can sense them and they feel safe when they look at me to talk about, yeah, I haven't had a drink in 2 years, right? Or whatever it is, right? And so, I'm not saying, be out loud about things that, that really make you uncomfortable, or that deeply are personal, or could be triggering and emotionally hurtful to others. But I'm just saying, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm giving myself permission to be in the driver's seat of my life, and I get to choose how I'm experiencing living, right? Like, so, like I said, you don't have to talk about your personal stuff. Like, we don't have to do that, but we can talk about some things. So I want you to give yourself permission to be you and feel that. Sorry, again, I digress. That was a little bit of a sermon. But I want you guys to be shifting into living the way you desire. And if you can't say it out loud because you're afraid somebody might judge you, you're not listening to this lesson properly, because that's an external locus of control. And look, locus of control isn't just a theory. Believe me, I'm living, breathing proof. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. You don't need anyone else's approval for anything. You don't need your past to change. You don't need every green light before you don't need every light to turn green before you leave your driveway, because that's never going to happen, right? Like, you'd never go anywhere. You need one thing. You only need one thing. Your choice followed by your action. I want to go back to that green light comment, right? Like, I want you to think of it like traffic. Waiting for every light to turn green, you'll never move. Life won't give you that. And every day you go anyway. You trust yourself anyway. You move anyway. So let's work on one stroke at a time, right? Like, swimming to the shore, one stroke at a time. So that's get out our pencils again, or pens, or whatever you're using. Let's write down one choice, your choice. Write down one choice you can make today. Just one. And I want that choice to reflect the life you actually desire. I don't want you to write down 10. I don't want a someday one, right? Like, I don't want a someday one, I want this, right? Like, that's your next stroke. That's you swimming towards the shore, right? Like, write down one choice you can make right here, right now, today, moving in the direction of the life you actually desire. And if you don't really know what life you actually desire, don't worry about it, right? Like, because you get to add, edit, delete, change, shift, more, grow, transcend, transform, actualize every day. So just today, what's one choice that you can make that reflects what you desire in this time and space? Right, that's forward moving momentum. Let me bring it back to my boat, right? Like, let me bring it back to my boat. I couldn't control the chaos. I couldn't control the people. I could control me. And sometimes, bravest thing you'll ever do is jump, bail. I'm out of here. Peace. This isn't for me. Right? So I'm going to give you a closing question and I'll let you move on with your day. Are you going to keep gripping a wheel that isn't yours? Or are you ready to swim toward the freedom that's been yours all along? I before I jump off, right? Like, I created a little worksheet to go along with this. Feel free to download it, use it. Grab some time on my calendar to talk about this at a deeper level so that I can help you learn how to insert it, to incorporate it into how you are approaching aspects of your life. All right. But for now, if I was to give you homework, what's one wheel you're going to release this week? Okay. Write that down. Commit to it. What's one wheel I'm going to release this week? Second bit of homework. What's one numbing behavior you will replace with a real choice? Yeah, that I did. I gave you a big one, right? Like, what's that one numbing behavior you're going to replace with a real choice? And lastly, what's one permission slip that you're going to write for yourself right here, right now, today? See you on the other side.